Unmuted.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, depending on where you are. If you're across the world, then good tomorrow or yesterday, depending on where you are. My name is Warren Geisler. I'm going to be presenting the AutoCAD 2016 new features. With me today is Jennifer Hoskins, and I'm going to change the presenter over to me so I can show you my screen.
Excellent plan.
And can everybody see my screen? There it is. Okay. So with me today is Jennifer Hoskins, one of our product support technical specialists for AutoCAD, Civil, everything, not including Revit. Stan Henney, our business development manager, will be joining us a little bit later. He had an appointment that he had to get to. And we're going to be talking today about not only just the AutoCAD 2016 new features, but Jennifer is here to talk about how the product is going to be available to you and some of the new changes in your subscription account. And Stan is going to join us a little bit later to talk about Autodesk's changeover in their delivery mechanism and how the software is going to be delivered to you and what you really need to look forward to. A lot of people have been getting emails from Autodesk over the last week touting AutoCAD 2016, the last AutoCAD you're ever going to own. So we're going to explain some of that and talk about it. Right off the bat, though, we've got a little bit of our typical housekeeping. For those of you who are new to this, you'll have your webinar console up there. You can minimize the console to get it out of your way if you need to. You want to make sure that you can change how to listen if you've got yourself set up on a telephone. You get your telephone stuck in your ears. If you've got speakers on your computer, you can switch over to speakers. Whoops. And Windows wants me to change. If you've got questions, then you can click the little raise your hand icon or type in the little question bar, any questions. Depending on the content of the questions and when they're asked, we'll try to get to them in a timely manner. And we do have time at the very end for kind of a Q&A session. Right off the bat, though, what I'd like everybody to do, just to make sure that everybody can hear me and I haven't been talking to myself, is I would like everybody to click the little raise your hand icon on your console just to make sure that we're actually getting through. And I see a handful of hands, and some people are clicking their hands off and on and off and on like they're waving at us or giving us a high five. That's pretty cool. Okay, groovy. It looks like at least the vast majority of you can hear us, and we've got a brand new microphone, so I don't have to scream into the microphone like I used to. So everybody should be hearing us pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and lower everybody's hands. Oh, Jennifer did that for me. So as I mentioned, you'll be able to ask your questions as long as they pertain to what we're talking about. We'll try to get to them pretty quickly and immediately. Otherwise, we may have to postpone them until the very end. So as I mentioned, what we're going to talk about today is the new delivery mechanism for AutoCAD and how Autodesk is changing things up. We're going to have a hands-on demonstration of the new features. We're also going to chat about some of the new features. And to start with, we're going to be chatting about how you're going to be getting your AutoCAD. As usual, I'd like to talk about the upcoming CAD-1 events, and normally we would list a whole bunch of them on a slide here, but you know, that's just a waste of time. So if you come up to our website, CAD-1.com, and click on the events link, or just go right to this link right here, you can find out more about the upcoming events. This session is being recorded. And just to let you know that in the coming weeks, we are going to have additional sessions for people who are using the Revit products, where we'll talk about the Revit new features, or Revit MEP new features, Revit structural new features. And we're also going to have one for Civil 3D. Civil 3D new features, maybe the map and the infrastructure features that you're going to be taking a look at. We may even be talking a little bit about InfraWorks. There's a new version that just came out, and I'm not sure what they're doing with the new version. So we may be talking about that as well. Also in the coming weeks, hopefully sooner rather than later, Denny Cox and Jennifer are going to be getting together and posting a webinar up on our website.
We are?
You are? Jennifer's staring at me like, what the? And it's going to be a very short one, and it's basically going to have the same content that we're showing here today about how to log into your new subscription, what is the new subscription, the new Autodesk account, how to get your software, how to get it installed properly, and it'll be a very short one. We're not going to be broadcasting it. like we're doing right now, but we are going to have a nice little recording session that you can come up to our website to find out how to get to your software. Okay, and to start with the whole getting your software thing. In case you have not been told yet, and if you've not been told yet, then you're probably in Antarctica or on the North Pole or somewhere on one of the plains of Mars. Autodesk is not sending out media anymore for their software. They're not sending out disks. They're not sending out floppy disks, for those of you who remember floppy disks. I wonder how many that would take. I mean, the last version I remember was like version 11 or 12, and it was like 20 floppy disks. I wonder how many this version would take.
A lot.
A lot. They're not sending out DVDs or CDs. They're not sending out flash drives or USB drives unless you ask for it, and you have to do that through your own account.
The other thing about that is it's not free anymore. They are now charging a $30 media charge to get a disk sent out to you. So, you know, if you are wanting to request a disk, be prepared. There is going to be a $30 charge for that media request.
And you don't pay us. You'll have to do that straight through Autodesk and straight through your account. And this is an Autodesk thing. This is nothing that we can control or that we have control over. We've been asking for media and trying to get Autodesk to send media out for years, and they don't listen to us. So if everybody out there really wants them to keep sending out media and not just doing downloads, then you need to rise together as one and overthrow Autodesk. No, wait. And just let Autodesk know and keep hammering.
This is being recorded.
Yeah, this is being recorded. So you need to let Autodesk know and try to keep sending them emails and have your friends and families let them know. I don't know that they're going to change that, but all delivery mechanisms these days are through download. Now, there are some really good ways of downloading this. There's several ways. They give you lots of options, which Jennifer's going to be talking about. So to start with, let's talk about Subscription Center. It's gone, right?
Yes, Subscription Center is no more. When you log in, you're going to be logging into something called the Autodesk Account, and it has everything that the Subscription Center had in it, plus, you know, a few extra bells and whistles as well. So if you can bring us to the page there, you can go to the main Autodesk site, autodesk.com. There is a sign-in button at the top of the screen. You can go to autodesk.com/account. There are several ways to get there.
And this one right here is just autodesk.com/account.
Yes. It'll prompt you to sign in at that point. So there is a sign-in option there. If you don't know what your login name is, CAD1 can definitely help you out with that. We can find out what your login name is, and from there there's a forgot password link if you don't happen to remember your password either. I know I have to reset mine from time to time on various different things. So
you don't use the same password for everything?
No, believe it or not.
You don't use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for everything?
That sounds like something an idiot would use for his luggage.
Okay, so moving on. Alrighty, so yeah, remember this is being recorded. We're so used to doing AutoCAD Answers, which is not recorded. So, okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and sign on. Now you're going to notice that as I'm signing on, this is going to take several minutes because you will have access to all of the software that your organization, if you're the account manager, you'll have access to all the software that your organization has. If you're not the account manager, which I learned today, then you'll have to talk to an account manager, like Jennifer, who will change your account and set you up an account through your company that has access to all of the software?
You can limit who has access to which software. You can give them access to everything. You can give them access to only the products they use. You know, that's up to you. But there are, you can go in and set up checkboxes on which products you want them to have access to. So you're allowed. You know, you can definitely control the end users, what they see, what they don't see. Us as resellers, you're going to see a lot of products on our page that we're demoing here because we have a lot of products on our contract. So
a lot of, I'm not even out of the A's yet. A lot of products.
So it's good for everyone to get in, to know who the contract manager is on the account. So the little bit about the contract manager is kind of the person that oversees the entire contract. Underneath the contract, you might have several different serial numbers. Each serial number can be assigned a separate software coordinator that is responsible for that piece of software. And it gives them similar rights to the contract manager to be able to, change user settings and things like that. But they're responsible for that one piece of software on your contract. So it's good to have usually 2 different contacts in each company. That way, if someone leaves, the software coordinator can go in and make the change, or if that software coordinator leaves, the contract manager can go in and make the change. That way there's 2 parties responsible in getting the emails from Autodesk. So.
Now there's one other thing. Is this where you manage your cloud credits?
You can also manage your cloud credits in here as well.
Okay.
So that's also visible.
Go down to the R's here for, I think render is in the R's. Rendering. Included with subscription. Okay, and so I've got the information here about rendering.
Scroll back up towards the top there to see the usage, actually. On the left side of the screen, so the buttons in the left side of the screen are going to be where you're going to see the differences. As contract manager or software coordinator, you've got a couple extra buttons for managing your users and seeing your contract information as well.
The main reason I like to stress that one, especially for the cloud credits, is what a lot of people don't understand is that if you've got shared cloud credits, your organization has purchased like 5,000 cloud credits for services, rendering, analysis, etc., and you give one of your users access. You're giving them access to all the cloud credits. You can't just say, okay, I want Joe over here to only have access to 100 of the company's cloud credits. You can't do that. They have access to all the company's cloud credits. So you've got to manage that really carefully, folks. Because if you've given, going back to Joe's example, you've given Joe access to all those cloud credits, he can do that through just logging in. And then if Joe winds up leaving the company, you've got to be Johnny on the spot and get that access removed and limited, et cetera.
Yeah, with a 1 cloud credit equaling $1, that could be a heavy investment there. So,
what do you want me to click?
You can go to reporting if you want to see. I believe that's where you would see your individual cloud credits and shared cloud credits information.
Now let's talk about this real quick because I remember seeing the demonstration about that. Individual cloud credits, you'll notice that individually I have 100 cloud credits. Everybody who signs up with an Autodesk 360 account gets 100 cloud credits free.
Woohoo, $100.
Woohoo, $100. You can't give them away. And here's what's more important, you cannot share them, so I can't put this into the pool of my company. These are my cloud credits and only I have access to them.
You greedy.
Greedy little SO. These are mine and mine alone, and I can't give them away, I can't give them to the company, and the company doesn't have access to them. Now on the flip side, I've got access to my company's cloud credits, or my organization's cloud credits, for the renewal and everything else, and this doesn't look like it's got the cloud credits that I had access to. How come it says 0?
That's a good question. I will have to look at that.
We're going to have to look at that because up until I just looked at it today, and I was just looking at it like a week or 2 ago, our organization has a lot of cloud credits, so I was going to give you my private phone number and say that we can do some cloud credit purchasing.
That's why I took it away.
Yeah, that's fine. And then also, if you log into an Autodesk 360 account, everybody who logs in on an individual basis, just like the 100 cloud credits up here, you've also got 25 gigabytes of storage. You can't share that with a company and add that. As a company organization, though, if your company wants to have storage, they can purchase storage, and you do that through subscription or through your account here as well. Now let's get back to the product. So we're going to come in here and we're going to take a look at the different versions of AutoCAD. You'll notice that I've got multiple in here, but you'll see that I've got AutoCAD 2016 as an end user, or if my administrator lets me know as an end user, I can see the serial number and the product key. And those are going to be important for you to install the software.
Every year, your serial number and product key changes. And so if you install 2016, just so you know, your 2015 serial number and product key are not going to work. Your software coordinator and contract manager have access to all the serial numbers and product keys. So, If you don't know what it is, you can't see it or something like that, ask them. They have access to it, or give us a call.
As you see right there on one of my contracts, I don't have access to that information, but I can go ahead and download and install the product. But it is letting me know that Jennifer hasn't given me access to this and that I need to contact the administrator for the information. However, on this one, I've got the serial number and the product key, and I can get that information. Now, as far as downloading and installing, now let's take a peek at these. These are the fun ones.
So if you've talked to us in the past about downloading your software from subscription, you'll know that CAD1 strongly recommends using the browser download method. You see several different options there: install now, download now, and browser download. There is a link there that you can click on to learn more about the different versions, but we strongly recommend the browser download method for several reasons. Yes, it does take a little bit longer, but the thing with the install now and the download now is that it's only good for that one install on that one computer. So browser download, if you ever have to uninstall your software, you can reinstall from because you use the browser download method. If you want to copy it up to your server so someone else can use it, you can use, that's what you would use the browser download method for. It downloads the entire software package to your computer or to your network, wherever you happen to be downloading it to, and then you can move it around, do what you need to it. If you ever have tried the install now or download now methods and went back to try and use it again or install on someone else's computer, it's going to give you a communication error. So strongly recommend the browser download method for downloading your software onto your computer, onto your network, wherever it happens to be going.
Yeah, there's pros and cons, and you'll see that it's got the little link here. It says can't decide, and it'll bring up a web page and talk about the different methodologies. But the two main differences here, what Jennifer's talking about, is that the download now uses the download manager. It is the fastest. If you get the interruption to your service, then it'll try to do the download again. The downside of this one is that it's not easily transferable from computer to computer or managing it that way. The browser download is the slowest, which is the downside, but the upside is that it's going to download the entire package, and you can put that on your own flash drive, put it up on your own server, move it around. It's very transportable.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else you want to mention quickly about all of this before I move on?
There's also some links underneath the More Actions option there for you may have to click on one of the other ones, but things like requesting previous versions. If you need a 2014 serial number or something like that, you can do that in there.
I don't have that.
I believe that's a contract manager, software coordinator thing as well. If Warren had listened to me and let me sign it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so contract managers are going to have options for requesting previous versions in there. They're going to have options for requesting a home use license. That's something only a contract manager or software coordinator can do. That's not something CAD1 can do, but we can help you out with like previous versions and things like that. So a lot of options and choices for things to do in here, all from this screen. So now,
and then they do have, and I want to point this out, up at the top here, you do have these links up here, what's new in the account, and a download help, and just to kind of let you know, you've got a lot of links and a lot of tools here to learn your account to work with it.
Now, for example, Civil 3D users, Revit, that type of thing, might be interested in some special features that are released every year for their products. I know Civil 3D's got a productivity pack and a productivity, various different downloads. Those are all available in the product enhancements on the left side of the screen there. The product enhancements there. That's where you would go for productivity packs, things that are only available for subscription users. Revit R2 was in there, things like that. So,
yep. And this is a big one, the productivity pack for AutoCAD Civil 3D. We just had somebody asking about taking a surface and making it into solid so that they could put it maybe a 3D printer, STL file, or something else, and that's a tool set that's in there. So definitely take a look at the product enhancements. These are tools you're going to want to keep your eyeballs on and do your downloads.
Yep. The other thing, your Network License Manager, there's a link for the download in there. You can also get that from CAD1. We've got a nice instruction sheet on getting that installed. Every year you want to update your Network License Manager version, but it's really not that complicated. It's just so that it will properly issue 2016 licenses out. You want the latest version. And note on the Network License Manager is not compatible with Server 2003. So if you're thinking about upgrading, you want to make sure, and you have network licenses, you want to make sure that your server is going to be 2008 R2 or newer.
Okay. Anything else?
Those are the main things. And like I said, if you're a contract manager, software coordinator, you'll have more access to users and managing your users' accounts, seeing who's on there. You might want to do some housekeeping on that. So.
One other thing in here that I do want to pull up now, this is the AutoCAD 2016. Now remember, this webinar is only about AutoCAD, so if you're looking for the suites, those are going to come later. Revit, Civil 3D, we're just talking AutoCAD, AutoCAD LT right now. So this is the system requirements for AutoCAD 2016. You're going to notice that the supported operating systems are limited to Windows 7 or Windows 8. So if you've got an older DOS machine, Windows 95, or ME, or XP, Vista, or XP, any of those, you're going to want to get the operating system updated, that's for certain. But then you're going to notice that all of the rest of the system requirements for AutoCAD are really pretty much the same as they have been in the past. I mean, your processor, you just need a Pentium, your network for all of that. You just need a standard network for Deployment Wizard. There isn't a whole lot that's changed. Now, there is something that's not in here that I do want to talk about when I get into the product, is that, as you're going to see, is that AutoCAD's graphics engine did change in the last release, 2015, and it's accessing DirectX directly. So you're going to want to take a look at your video card, sort of like what we were telling people for the last year. Take a look at your video card and make sure you've got the latest updates for your video card. Now let's talk about some of the new features inside of AutoCAD. And yes, don't worry, this isn't going to be death by PowerPoint. I'm going to pull up the program. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. But just some high-level talks about what's going on with the program. The first thing you're going to notice is visual enhancements. And that's what I was just talking about. As long as you've got a good video card, DirectX supported video card, we've been chatting with people about getting your drivers updated, making sure that you've got certified video cards. One of the biggest issues that we've seen with the video card, with the video engine change, is laptops or computers that have dual video cards, especially laptops where it's got an Intel integrated video card and then maybe an NVIDIA or an AMD video card plugged in after the fact. You've really got to make sure that AutoCAD is using that secondary video card, that it's accessing it. And now we could spend hours talking about how to do that. You got to look at your drivers. You got to look at how the video cards are laid out in the computer. Some of the newer ones, like the NVIDIA, will only activate the secondary video card for graphics applications, and for some goofy reason, AutoCAD's not listed as a graphics application, so you'll have to add it into the list. But as long as you got a good video card and you got the good drivers, you're going to see some really nice visual changes in here. And I mean speed, not only just some of the cool things that make the drawings look better, but performance increases, which is always big. We're always looking for performance increases. The next one, coordination model, BIM 360, Navisworks, programs like that. We've got point cloud tools that you're going to see in here, but definitely we've got access directly now back and forth to Navisworks files. So it's one of those things where, well, wait a minute, isn't Navis a Autodesk product? Well, yes, it is. Isn't AutoCAD an Autodesk product? And how come they don't talk? Well, you're going to see there's a big initiative at Autodesk right now to make sure that all their products not only can communicate with each other, but can reliably use the same model information. So in the next few years, what you're going to see is more and more model integration. And that means not only can I bring in a Navisworks model, but I can see it live and maybe even do some preliminary editing or something along those lines. And Revit models into AutoCAD and Civil 3D into Revit and Navis. And everybody's going to start talking more and more as we go through here. Another big thing, and this is one of my big favorites that you're going to see here, is new smart dimensioning tools. Really, for those of you who spend a lot of time using CAD, using AutoCAD on a day-to-day basis, you're probably doing a lot of dimensioning, and dimensioning takes a lot of time. So I want to show you some really cool tools that we've got for dimensioning. That's one of the big new features. And then for you CAD managers out there, and there are some people who really love this when they were looking at the beta, we've now got a new system variable monitor. So several years ago, Autodesk plugged in the new CAD management tools, and with that, it was CAD standards. So if you had a series of layers that you wanted to adhere to, you had a CAD standards checker that you could plug into your drawing, where if somebody changed the layer or added a new layer, they'd get a balloon notification. Well, another issue that we've had over the years is system variables. You got 50 users who are using AutoCAD, and one or two people keep saying, well, my AutoCAD's not working, and you go over there and you reinstall AutoCAD and all of a sudden it starts to work. Well, why did it stop working? And what we found over the years is that most of the time, and I'm not going to give a percentage, but a good most of the time, it's because somebody got in and started playing around with the options dialog box or playing around with some of the system variables. And sometimes it can be accidental, at least you hope it is. Sometimes it's for real. You know, I want to change this. I want to make my crosshairs look bigger. But now we've got a monitor. Whereas if somebody changes the system variable and all of a sudden their computer is acting up, you can go in and take a look at what they've changed, how they've changed it, and maybe that will explain what's going on. Okay, so now having said all of that, let's take a peek at AutoCAD. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a new AutoCAD screen, and you're going, woo, they didn't change it from 2015, which is good. 2015, they changed the interface. They changed how it looked. Now, it's still the ribbon, and the ribbon is still in the same location. And this is what panicked everyone. Oh, the ribbon changed. No, it didn't. It's home, insert, annotate, the parametric. All the tools are still there. It just doesn't quite look the same. It's got this dark feel to it. So that happened in 2015. So it's still the same ribbon. You've still got all of the same tools and options that you had before. So, okay, so what has changed as far as my first look at the interface goes? Well, you'll notice that when you get into the program, we've now got a new Start tab. So if I want to start a new drawing and have the options for starting a new drawing, I would click the Start tab. This gives me access to my recent documents, to my learning tools, to my templates, etc. Okay, so, but wait a minute. In 2015, that's what this did. So what does that do? Well, that does the same thing as clicking the Start and clicking Start. This is a whole lot easier. I click that, and I just start a brand new drawing using whatever my last template was. So it's gotten a little bit faster here for everybody. I don't have to click the plus button, go into this screen, click Start Drawing.
And just to clarify that a little bit, it's not what your last template was, it's what template is set in your options file.
Thank you. I always forget about that. Okay, so that's the first thing to help you out. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be looking at the webinar going, well, that's a little thing and that's a little thing, but this is all about, you know, little enhancements, little changes, a lot of these new features, and we'll talk about some of the bigger ones as we go through here. Okay, so what else has changed? Well, in 2015, you would notice that your status bar changed dramatically. One of the first things in 2015 that people notice is that if I right-click some of these icons, I don't have the option for text. So it's now icons only, but at least the icons are easily visible. I can see the differences in the icons. And here's the big thing, is I can see the difference between them being turned off and being turned on. However, there were a couple of icons that were kind of missing in the last version, and now they're back. So the first one that was missing is this one right here. This is your lock UI command. That was actually available in 2014, and when they changed the status bar, it disappeared. And people were saying, how do I lock my windows? How do I keep people from messing around with my interface? So the lock UI is back in there. You're also the customization tool. You're going to notice that we've got several extra new tools in there.
And this is a big one I just want to mention here. I've gotten a bunch of calls, especially lately, about I can't find this tool. It should be at the bottom of my screen here in 2015, and I can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
Those three little lines, that button with the three little lines in the far bottom right corner of the program, that is where you would find any of those icons at the bottom of your screen that you would expect to find but maybe aren't there. You just need to put a checkbox next to them and it'll be on the bottom of your screen again.
Okay, I'd like to stress what she just said. Let me stress this because I'm going to go a little off kilter here with some people. She said you click this little checkbox and it appears down here. What she did not say was you click this little checkbox and it turns it on and off. Okay, just because I made it visible Okay, so where are my O-snaps? So I check this box and my O-snaps are on, right? No. You check that box and the O-snap button is visible. It doesn't turn it on. We've had a lot of people who call and complain and go, well, it's broken. I keep checking it on and off and nothing happens. Well, sure it does. It appears down here. Then to turn it on and off, you have to click the button down at the bottom of your screen. You'll notice it changes color. That turns it off and on. I know it's a little thing, but we've had a lot of complaints about that. People going, it's broke. When I get into a drawing, you're going to notice a couple of other, when I get into some different drawings, you'll notice a couple of other things that are new and that are some of the features that are going to pop up in here. So there's your new status bar. Now, another thing that changed in 2015 was when I get into a drawing, and I'm going to open a sheet set here real quick so I can goof around. So when I get into a drawing like this, it has a lot of layouts. And I've got a lot of my buttons down here at the bottom. Well, what happens, my layouts tend to disappear. And this occurred in 2015, is that I know I've got 15 or 16 layouts, but they're all gone. Where did my layouts go? Well, first of all, that's this button right here, and that will show you your extended layouts. But then during the beta testing of 2015, people were going, no, that's just messed up. I don't want to have to hit a button and go to another layout, so how do I fix this? So this is 2015 and 2016. If you right-click one of these layouts, you can dock your layouts now above the status bar so that they get pushed above the status bar, and that gives me a whole lot of room all the way across my screen. Now, if they go all the way back across the screen, or if you want to dock in line, you're going to notice that you've got that little button, and then in 2015, it was really difficult to reorder them. In 2016, now when I go to reorder them, I just drag them and they'll start to scroll back and forth. For me, personally, I just like docking above the status bar. It gives me all the room that I could possibly want. And then if you honestly need more room than you've got all the way across the screen,
you have too many layout tabs in your drawing.
There you go. You need to reevaluate your drafting practices. Too many layouts. Okay, now another thing that you're going to notice is that obviously there were a lot of changes in 2015. Things like, if I get into another drawing here, one of the other changes in 2015 when they were changing the graphics engine were what were called galleries. And galleries where I go to the insert command and I want to insert a block, and it doesn't bring up my insert dialog box. And how come? Well, it's bringing up this little gallery that I can scroll back and forth, and it's going to show me the different blocks that I can insert. Now, people were going, well, I hate that. I want to get back to the insert command. You can get back to the standard insert command just by typing the letter I and hitting enter. But then we also had these galleries for things like our dimension styles, text styles, multi-leader styles. It's going to show me what these dimensions and things look like. Okay, like a lot of things that Autodesk does, it's a great idea for the vast majority of users. But then there are one or two people out there that go, well, that's stupid, and I don't like it, and I want it to go back to the way that it was. Okay, so what they did with this version is they've turned on a lot of new system variables so that you can activate or deactivate these options. This one is called Gallery View. I'll start to type it in, and you'll see that it's a new system variable called Gallery View. And it's currently turned on, so I can see my galleries. And if I turn it off by setting it to 0 and I go back to my insert command, you'll notice that the little down arrow has gone away from my insert, and when I click it, it just brings up the dialog box. The same thing holds true for my styles. I hit the down arrow and I can read them and I can just pick them out of the list. So one of the things that I'm going to recommend that you do when you get into 2015 is that you're going to hit the F1 key, and you're going to want to take a look at what's new and just read up on a lot of the new different options for AutoCAD, some of the new commands, some of the new system variables, and just take a look at how some of these things have changed and how you can deactivate and activate some of these system variables. And I'm going to turn my gallery view back on because I like it. Okay, and it's kind of the same thing for the Start option. I really like this, the fact that I've got a Start tab and I can just hit the plus sign. Again, some people don't like that, so we've got another one called Start Mode where you can activate or deactivate that. So as we're going through and you're looking at some of these new features, Autodesk is giving you the option for activating and deactivating them if you want to. Really up to you. Okay, another one that's kind of fun, and I don't know whether you all noticed this before, But if you use the AutoCAD help and you're learning AutoCAD, and one of the things that we've noticed is, when Autodesk went to the ribbon, like everybody else who was using Microsoft products, people were going, I hate the ribbon. Can't find anything on the ribbon. Well, why not? Because if I want to go to, let's say, the trim command, all right, so it's going to tell me what the command does. It's going to tell me all about this command, but in the help, I don't know whether anybody noticed this in 2015, you've got a find option in the help. So if I click find, watch my ribbon back behind the screen. Notice that I'm currently on the annotate ribbon. I'm going to click find. It's going to switch me over to the appropriate ribbon, and it's going to start to give me that little animated arrow button there. It's going to show me where that find or where that command is. So you've got this find option. And that came out in 2015, but it's a neat little feature. Now the other thing is that what if I want to find things like ghost snaps? Okay, or, and the one that I was looking at about commands for objects, snaps, no wait, I was looking at status bar. And the status bar toggles into work with the status bar. And where was I finding it? Commands. Dagnabbit. Okay.
Dagnabbit is a technical term, by the way.
And Stan has joined us. Okay, so, and I can't remember the name of the command because I didn't write it down. I thought it was OSNAP. And what I was trying to show everybody is where they've got the find. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, so in here, okay, so I want to find the O-snaps on my screen. So we talk about O-snaps and how to use them, but I want to find it. So this is new to 2016, is that now the find option works down here at the status bar or anywhere on the screen. So when you see a find, click it, it will show you where things are. There. I knew it was O-snap. Okay, so those are some of the new feature changes. And now let's talk about some of the big feature changes, some of the things that you're going to be using on a day-to-day basis. First one going to be revision clouds. Everybody uses revision clouds if you do construction documents. Notice how I said that kind of generally? Everybody uses revision clouds if you do construction documents. If you have never had to revise a construction document, I want you to raise your hand, and then everybody's going to want to hire you. Okay, so we have to use revision clouds, and when we use revision clouds, a lot of times you're picking and you're trying to draw around a particular area, but what if I just wanted to do a revision cloud in a rectangular area, like around one of these notes or around a particular area. So revision cloud, you're going to notice as I drop this down, has changed. A couple of ways. First of all, not only can I do freehand, which you're used to, but I can also do rectangular and polygonal. So for a rectangular one, I'm just going to pick a spot, build a rectangular revision cloud right around my area. I've also got the same thing for polygonal. It kind of acts like a polyline. A polyline. That's going to come into play here in a moment. So I'm picking a spot, and I can do some pretty fun things with it if I want to, and stretch it out, and hit enter, and I'm done. So that's the first thing.
34 years after the first version of AutoCAD.
And we finally got revision clouds at work. But wait, there's more. One of the biggest problems I've always had with revision clouds is editing them. You grab one of the revision clouds, and each one of these little arc segments in the polyline has its own grips. 10,000. You know what?
So annoying. It's
annoying. It's just easier to erase it and do it all over again. But wouldn't it be nice if this would act just like a polyline, like I mentioned before? And guess what? Now it acts just like a polyline. So if I want to just add this or stretch this vertex or add a vertex, I can add a vertex in. I can hover over this and say remove the vertex if I wanted to. So I've got all of the same polyline commands. It's just like polylines in here where I can just do my editing and just use the grips standard on a line-by-line segment that I picked, just like a polyline.
Well, apparently we had one person who fessed up and said they've never done a revision on a construction document.
Pull the other one. Okay, but let's talk more about editing revision clouds because this frequently happens. Even though I can add vertices and remove vertices, you know, really all I want to do is I want to add F5 to that existing revision cloud. So here's another thing that we can do. When I start the revision cloud command, you're going to notice on the command line I've got a modify option. I click modify, and I'm going to pick over my revision cloud, and watch this. I can start doing this and adding to my revision cloud. I'm going to turn on my little O snaps. I'm going to snap right in there. And then when I hit enter, the program says, okay, what do you want to remove? And I'm going to remove that portion. Do I want to reverse the direction? No. And that becomes my new revision cloud. So big time revision cloud changes. Really, really like those. Those are pretty cool. The next one is, the next big one that we were mentioning inside here is dimensioning. Okay, everybody who uses AutoCAD for the most part uses dimensioning. Hopefully you use dimensioning. Let people know what's going on. So you're going to notice that dimensioning has changed, and it's changed rather dramatically. The first thing that you're going to notice is that when I get into my dimension commands, or when I get into my annotate, my dimension panel, I'm going to look up here, and where's my drop down? Well, your drop down is still there for those of you who just like to pick it, so don't panic. The next thing you're going to notice is you're going to see this, and it's going to go, hey, what's that? Well, that's your dim layer. That's your dimension layer. So it does overrides for the dimensions just on a layer. Because how many times does this happen? Where you start to go to dimension, you realize you're on the wrong layer. You go back to the home ribbon, you change your layer, you go back to annotate. What a hassle. So for all my dimensions, I just want to use a particular layer. And then the next thing is I'm looking back and forth going, well, nuts. We don't have a layer. So we've got a new system variable called dim layer, which I can type in. And my dim layer is going to be a-dims, and I'm going to hit enter, and then look right up here, it created that layer and set that layer current for my dimensions only.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool. Okay, now the next thing is what is this command up here? That starts the dim, it's a brand new command, starts the dimension command, the dim command. What does it do? Well, it allows me, if I wanted to snap from endpoint to endpoint just like before. But if I hover over an object, you'll notice that the program is automatically going to try to figure out what type of dimension that I want to use.
That's sort of almost Revit-y.
Shh, we're not going to use the Revit word, or the R word in here. And look, if I hover over an arc or a circle, the program's going to say, what do you want to do? Now notice, watch my command line as I'm doing this, everybody. You'll notice every time I hover over something, the program changes my options for me. Like for a circle, it says, oh, do you want to change it to a radius or a jog? And I've got all of that in my right-click menu. So I want to do this, but I want to do it as a radius. And I hover back over that, and it's now going to be doing a radius dimension for me.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I can hear the oohs and ahs as we work. Here's another thing. What if I want to do an angular dimension? People go, well, I picked this line, and I want to do an angular dimension. Well, that's fine. Hover over another line, and it'll automatically do angular dimensions for you. So the program's going to try to figure out what type of dimension you want on an object-by-object basis, and all I've got to do is just hover over the objects that I'm going to want to dimension. And if your O-snaps are on, you're going to notice that the O-snaps will override what you're doing. So that's not a big deal. You know, sometimes you do want the O-snaps on. Sometimes you are just going to want to do a dimension. As an example, maybe I want to do a new dimension from here to down there. And you know what? I want to move it right about in line with this dimension that's already there. And I picked non. I meant nearest. I don't know how many times do you all use nearest. So I want it to be in line with this dimension right here. When you pick an existing dimension, so you're dimensioning and you pick over top of an existing dimension, the program goes, no, sacre bleu, that's bad drafting. So you need to change this. So what do? I want to move it away. I want to move the other dimension away, and look what happens. It not only moved that dimension away, but if it was a continued dimension, it's moving everything else along with it.
That is pretty neat.
That's pretty darn groovy. Well, what about this? What about in a situation where I want to do this, but I actually want that dimension in there, so I'm just going to say I want to break it up, and it breaks up the existing dimension for me, turns it into a continued dimension. So dimensioning's changed dramatically, and what they've done is they basically combined everything you can do into one command now. Like I said, for those of you who go, that's just too difficult and I don't like it, you've still got all of these options inside here, so they're not throwing anything away. Those options and those tools are still there for you, but the new dimension command is something you really do want to take a peek at. Okay, so the next thing, one other thing that I do want to mention about dimensions is that if while you are dimensioning and I pick a spot and I start just pulling my mouse, you're going to notice that I get an automatic preview of the dimension and the numbers of the dimension. That's another thing that's brand new in there. Another thing about dimensioning as I'm throwing stuff in here is that with the last release, you might remember a couple releases ago that we can double-click a dimension, go automatically into the dimension text, and this is dimension text here. Well, there's the problem, is that I've got that dimension text and it's just kind of messed up and I need to move it and everything. Well, this is an Augie wish list item. Is that, wouldn't it be nice if I had access to my same options for word wrap, that's the word I was looking for word wrap, inside my dimension text editor. So that just goes to show you that this, along with a few other things like the Rev Cloud, those were Augie wish list items. So if you want to tell Autodesk that you'd like a new feature or see something changed, a couple ways of doing it, as always, is use your help and use the send feedback and let Autodesk know this would be really cool if. And then another way is to join Augie, Augie.com. Join Augie, membership is free, and let them know, hey, it would be cool if. Okay, very quickly, a couple more things that I want to show in here is, let's see, a couple little features. We're just going to jump back and forth in here. Text, if I grab text and I go to my properties for text and scroll to the bottom of my properties for text, you're going to notice a brand new option to plug in a text frame inside my properties. That's another one of those wish list items. People are going, well, it's about time. That's pretty cool. So little things in there. Here's a fun one. Okay, if I want to draw a circle, and I want to draw a circle at the exact geometric center, so I start the circle command, and I do a shift right click, you're going to notice that not only do we have center, but we've also now got geometric centers for objects and polylines. So exact geometric center. Now the first time you do this, it's going to be a little bit slow, and then after that it's going to start figuring things out. But that's pretty cool. New O-snap for geometric center. You're going to want to play with that and work with it. It's kind of fun.
And it works for polyline objects as well?
Those are polyline objects.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So it works for polyline objects.
Really random shapes, you pick the exact center of it, huh?
Yep. Okay. Now let's talk about performance changes and performance enhancements, because they've changed the graphics engine, so some performance things. You may or may not see this if you've worked with very, very large drawings. The first one you're going to notice is when you go and grab a large amount of objects and you want to move, rotate, copy, or something else, your performance is going to be enhanced. Look how fast that is, and you can see that I'm moving my mouse back and forth, and I'm not getting that jogged bang, 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 bang as I move my mouse around. It's very, very fast.
It may look that way a little bit on the go-to.
Yeah, it may look that way a little kind of funky on the go-to meeting just because I'm pushing it, but it's very, very smooth and easy. So performance has been increased. Another thing that's changed is performance increases for things like changing color and line type and line weight. That acts much, much faster than it did before. Another thing that people have asked about is my selection highlighting. I like the selection highlighting, but I'm not crazy about blue. Maybe I've got a color depth issue. Blue and green don't work, and maybe I need that to be another color. Well, if you go into your properties or your options, and you go to your selection, you're going to notice some brand new options for selection effect color. That's a big one. You can change it, and you can change it to any color that you want if you want to in there. You'll also notice that your command previews have changed a little bit. Yeah, I know I'm going to move. Whoops, command previews have changed a little bit for things like move, copy, erase. So if I go to erase something, if I meant to erase something and I hover over it, you'll notice that rather than highlighting it in blue, you'll notice that they start going in gray, and that goes for commands like move, and you'll notice how it keeps those objects and it keeps them in gray. So I've got new options in there. We've got new system variables for turning off those flags. If I go to move, you'll notice that I've got the little flag in here. We've got system variables to turn those off if you want to. And then I do have to show a couple more things that are really, really, really important. First one is XREFs. Okay, and we may go over a little bit because of talking, but the first one is XREFs. This drawing right here, if I get into the drawing and I open up the viewport, I go to grab this and I want to change it, that's all in XREF. Okay, really easy. So what do? Is I go into my layer commands, and first thing you're going to notice about XREFs is the layers are grayed out inside the layer properties. Cool, so I'm going to grab all my XREF layers using Shift, and I'm going to change all of my XREF layers to gray, because that's what we do a lot, right? We want to change all the existing and the XREF layers to gray, and we come into our drawing, and none of that has changed. Why?
A system variable.
I wouldn't say a system variable. No, why? Because none of these objects were drawn color by layer. That's never happened to anybody, right? Where you get into a drawing, and none of the objects are drawn color by layer. So changing the, I don't want to get into their drawing. I don't want to change anything. I just want all these objects to be gray. So we have a brand new system variable called XREF Override. Woohoo! Really cool one. If you turn on XREF Override, that will automatically change all of your XREF objects to color by layer so that you can now adjust them and control them on a layer by layer basis. Isn't that cool? While I'm in here, if we talk about output commands, and for those of you, a lot of people are using PDFs, and we sell Bluebeam, and we like some of the PDF functionality inside there, and a lot of people are printing to PDF. So Autodesk has changed this so that we now have brand new PDF options to control how you're printing to PDF. Things like resolution and cool things like bookmarks and hyperlinks. And bookmarks and hyperlinks work with sheet sets. So for those of you using sheet sets, you'll notice that in 2015, when you printed a sheet set, it looks something like this. And that's not bad, right? So I've got all of my little layers in there, and I've got all of my drawings. In 2016, if you turn all those options off, your PDF is going to look now like this. And those are your bookmarks on a sheet set by sheet set basis. So it pushes all of your links and everything else out for sheet sets, where I can switch back and forth, not only to named views, but to drawings.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. Another thing you're going to notice with 2016 is that if I've got AutoCAD text and I hover over my AutoCAD text, I'm going to see a little option there, or a little window that tells me what the AutoCAD text is. So it now recognizes that that's AutoCAD text and can work with it. So there have been a few really nice changes specifically for PDFs, things like hyperlinks inside of PDFs, reading the AutoCAD text, SHX, embedding SHX fonts and things like that in there. Again, another one of those really cool, and it's about time things in there. Okay, so I'm going to, let me get into a drawing here very quickly, and I'm going to close all other drawings. I like that option. Now, here's something I want everybody to get online and tell Autodesk they really want to see, is an option for, say, close all drawings and just automatically say, no, don't save any changes, or just save everything. That would be kind of fun. As I mentioned before, we've got some Navisworks changes. So if you're working with Navisworks and you go to Attach References now in XREF, you'll notice that we've got coordination models as one of our options. So with the coordination model, I can attach a Navisworks file and bring it in just like an XREF. And I can overlay it with my own geometry. Now, obviously, I can't do things like clash detection inside of AutoCAD because that's all part of the Navisworks file itself. But it acts just like an XREF, and then if I grab it, you're going to notice that my ribbon is now changed, so I've got options specifically for fading and control and things like that.
Quick question, Warren. Did the file format change in 2016?
Glad you mentioned that. So a couple other new things is that if I do a save as, if I do a save as command inside of AutoCAD, the file format is not changed. It's still 2013, and it's upward and downward compatible.
Okay.
Okay, so these are all upward and downward compatible. Okay, and to that end, because we're a little bit short on time, I'm going to jump in, and Stan has to go to another appointment, I think.
No, I've got a little bit of time between now and the next one.
Okay, good. In that case, because there's one more thing that I really wanted to show people. We're talking about the file format. We've got a lot of new system variables that we can talk about. Couple new things I did want to mention. The graphics performance. With the graphics performance, you'll notice it's now using DirectX 11. And this is a lot like, this dialog box is going to be a lot like 2015. But there is something that I do want to show off to everybody, improved graphics. I do want to show this off very quickly. All right, so here's my arcs and circles. How do I change the smoothness? Pop quiz. What's the name of the system variable?
It's in options.
It's in options. And the name is ViewRes, for those of you who remember typing in ViewRes. ViewRes for arc and circle smoothness. And I want to change my ViewRes down to something like 10 because I'm going to do a practical joke on somebody. And I do a regen all, and my arcs and circles do not change. You might have noticed with 2015 that your angled lines now are no longer jagged because of the new graphics engine. Well, now the new graphics engine controls your arc and circle smoothness as well. So as long as you turn on the graphics, your arcs and circles will always look smooth inside of AutoCAD. Your lines won't be jagged. So there's some really nice feature enhancements.
Now, will they plot that way too?
They always plotted fine. It was just in AutoCAD, they always looked goofy. So it was like, okay, I got to do a regen or turn on my ViewRes and set it up to 20,000, and now you don't have to worry about that.
Now, Warren, I'm not sure if you know for sure, but what of these new features, are any of these new features not available in AutoCAD LT?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
I would guess probably the Navisworks.
That's a good question. The Navisworks probably not because LT doesn't support 3D very easily, but I don't know the answer to that.
But otherwise, I believe that most of the updates are available in both AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT, but LT doesn't support 3D, so...
Yep. LT doesn't support 3D and attaching images and a few other things. So, yeah, some of the things that I'm showing here quickly today may not show up in LT. You know, that's a good question. I should have thought of that. And then the last thing to show and turn it over to Stan is this brand new tool right here called the System Variable Monitor, SysVar Monitor. This is a really cool one. With this one, if I change any kind of system variable, I'm going to get a notification. I can even tell the program to give me a balloon notification as well. Otherwise, it'll notify me down at the command line. And here's a big one. A lot of people will get into their properties window and they'll go goofing around with some of these buttons over here, like this one, toggle value of PicAd SysVar, and they go, what does that mean? And I click that, and the program's going to warn me, warning, 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 it's now changed. Now that also helps because if I'm a CAD manager and somebody's going, well, my commands are acting really funny, first thing I do is I go into the System Variable Monitor, and it tells me, uh-oh, that has now changed. That's what we prefer it to be, and that's what the current setting is. And we can also, like I said, set that up for balloon notification so that it pops up down here at the bottom of the screen and warns them. Do I want to edit the list and add system variables? Yeah, certainly. I can grab all of them if I want to and push them over into that list. So I can say I want that one over, or grab them all and push them over into that list. And you can do this inside your computer, inside your template, have everybody get it set up. The only thing that it won't do, and I know a lot of people were using the system variable tools that were in the Express tools, system variable tool set. Now this isn't a monitor, this is just a way to look at what they do and see how they change, but the cool thing about this one was I could do a save and save all of them, do an export and import. System variable monitor currently can't do an export or an import. About all I can do is just do an edit list and work on it that way. So there have been a couple of new 3D changes that I'll be talking about in my 3D classes as well for those of you using 3D for a couple sections, some new features for point clouds. And because of time constraints, I'm going to jump over here. Oh, man, my AutoCAD just crashed.
You're going to jump over where?
I'm going to jump over here. I love that slide. Very quickly, just we've got some comparison matrices. You can download these at the Autodesk website easily just to show you, okay, so what's the difference? And I'm glad you mentioned that. Now that you mentioned that, here's the AutoCAD LT, the difference between AutoCAD LT and AutoCAD. And you're going to notice that the 3D modeling tools, obviously some of the new 3D tools, the advanced customization options, point cloud support, and the rendering tools. There are some new rendering features that I'm going to be talking about in my 3D class. Those are not in there, but the dimensioning and annotation tools are in there. The 2D drafting and detailing tools, those are all in there as well. And then obviously a feature by version by version changes, 2014, some new enhancements with 2015 with the interface and graphics, and then 2016, more graphics, smart dimensioning, coordination models, system variable monitor, and then some new 3D rendering tools.
Oh, you're so dramatic.
Yes. And now I'm going to turn this over for the next few minutes. We're going to go over for a few minutes here. I apologize for that, but you want to stick around for the next few minutes, folks, because we started off with talking about how you're going to get your software and then the new features in the program. But now, what is Autodesk doing to your delivery? So I'm going to turn this over to Stan Henney, and the first part is desktop subscription.
Thank you, Warren. This is important stuff, and I know that probably
You don't have to shout because that's really, really good.
Oh, that's a really good mic?
Yeah, it is a really good mic.
Okay.
You can almost whisper.
Okay. Yeah, we used to have this old mic that it was like 2 tin cans in a string. You had to...
It was awful.
But anyway, good. That's good to hear. Well, listen, the real thing, I can't see the whole list of attendees, but what I do, so some of you use the software, some of you might be IT or CAD managers or, you know, sole proprietors that manage your software as well. These issues are very important, and even if you're someone who is a user designer but you don't have any jurisdiction over the administration of your software, please pass this information along to your administrator and have them call us, because these things will be big in the next couple, 3 years, starting this year. Now, the pay-as-you-go, the desktop subscription, this is something that started well, last year, I think, or maybe the year previous on a very limited basis. It's becoming more and more popular, and I think this offers a lot of options because you can ramp up, ramp down for product or projects by maybe you have an intern coming in for the summer and you just need a seat for them to use for that time period. The desktop subscription, as they call it, the rentals, the pay-as-you-go, will become the predominant delivery method really starting next year, the 1st of February 2016. So be aware of that. Now, what's going to happen in the next year is that if you have a suite or whatever, you're fine. If you have an individual product, say an individual AutoCAD, an individual Revit, whatever it may be, you're fine with that as long as you stay on maintenance subscription, your normal subscription. But if you go off the maintenance subscription, if you let it lapse or whatever, then you will be in a situation where the only way to get back on your software will be, at least maintain software, will be to buy a desktop subscription.
Now, I want to stress something because we're using the word subscription a lot. Yeah. Desktop subscription means rentals. Maintenance subscription is maintaining your perpetual license.
Right, and that's a subscription we've had for years now. The desktop is relatively new.
When you're thinking about the licenses that you currently have, where you think you buy the software and install it and that's it, you're thinking perpetual license. When you're thinking what Autodesk is changing to from here on out is you won't be able to buy perpetual licenses.
You'll get February 1st next year.
You'll get desktop subscriptions or the rentals for all new seats.
Right.
If you've got a perpetual license, they're not going to shove you into a desktop subscription. You're going to be able to keep that perpetual license. But as Stan's saying, for you to keep that going, your perpetual license, you've got to make sure that you're on maintenance subscription. Because if it lapses and you want to move that into a new seat, not only do you have to buy a new version altogether, but it's going to have to be the desktop subscription.
Right. Now that doesn't mean if you have an AutoCAD 2016 and you're happy with it, and you can still continue to use that for a long time to come. It's not going to cut you off. It's just you won't get the updates, and that's kind of an important feature. So the individual products will not be sold anymore in the perpetual form, the box form, after February 1st of next year. But you still will be able to buy the design suites, whether it's the AutoCAD Design Suite or the Building Design Suite, Infrastructure Design Suite, Product Design Suite, blah, blah, blah. So all of those will be available for a time. They're going to go away too, probably a year following that or somewhere in there. So please maintain your maintenance subscription. It's the most economical way to maintain your current perpetual licenses. And also, please become somewhat aware of the advantages of desktop subscription because it can offer some significant cost advantages. Now, the last thing I want to go into is, and Warren, I should have done a little primer on the slides because you're helping me out. I'm working against you. The last thing I want to go into is that with the 2016 software, this will really be, at least according to what we're told right now, this will really be the last time that you'll see this major release. What Autodesk is going to start doing in the next quarter actually is as we understand it, is having feature releases that come out with some new features. They're going to be much quicker about updating things, getting to your AUGI requests, etc., and they will be feature releases that will pop up somewhere on your AutoCAD license or your Revit license and say, hey, there's new stuff. Do you want to load it? Something along those lines.
Probably through your application manager or your Autodesk account.
Exactly. So, you won't see this big flourish of new things necessarily. We don't know how they're going to change handle file format changes and things like that yet. But a lot of good changes. Eventually here we're all going, the nice thing I think is that eventually we're all going to be on the same version of the software. So you won't have to worry about that backward forward stuff, some of those things, you know, as we go forward over the next few years.
And for those of you who are panicking going, oh, this is something brand new, it really isn't. I mean, everybody's got cell phones, and, you know, constantly being notified on the cell phones, click here to update your apps. And you do that, you download the new app, and they say, okay, here's what's changed. Same thing for Adobe Acrobat. You know, the Acrobat readers, you click here for your new Acrobat, here's what's changed. And that's kind of how Autodesk is looking at delivering it. You know, click here, download the new features, here's what's changed.
So for most of you out there, because most of you out there, there may be a couple of you who have desktop subscription at this point, but for most of you, you have perpetual licenses. Please stay on your maintenance subscription. It is, I know a lot of you hate them and you feel like you're getting your arm twisted. It's still the most economical way for you to maintain your licenses and get those upgrades and those feature releases and all the new stuff. And then keep in mind the desktop subscription. It has some very good advantages too, and ultimately it will be where we all live in the software world, whether it's Autodesk or anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, and please, if you do have any questions about any of this, call your rep here at CAD1. We can walk you through it. We can help you do some forward planning about.
Jump forward to this one. You can call your rep, or if you're just on the webinar today, you can always just send an email to us. Give us a call here. It's, you know, it's a huge paradigm shift, isn't it?
Yes,
it is. We've been doing this for 30 some odd years, the same way, delivering the software the same way, and the whole software delivery mechanism has changed. And we don't want anybody to break down in a panic and go, this isn't worth it, and it's just they're trying to kill me. So, as Stan said, please give us a call, talk to us, communicate with us.
Yep.
So don't forget that we've got our training, our web-based training, our on-site training. We come out to your office, online support, on-site training, all that good kind of stuff, and
mentoring. Just sitting with you and having a nice chat.
And have a nice chat, a couple of beers somewhere, and
$120 an hour for it. No, we really appreciate all of your business. You all mean a lot to us, and thank you for your time today. Warren and Jennifer especially, thank you for putting this together fairly quickly this week, actually, and you did a nice job.
Did slap it together, and I do apologize for those of you who are using 3D. There are some changes if you're using 3D, and if you're doing rendering. You're going to notice that there are some changes. Maybe we could have another webinar. I'm definitely going to be showing that in my classes for the rendering changes. You're going to want to look up some of the new features on that. We just ran out of time. And also, rendering is time-based, so I wouldn't have been able to show you too much anyway, except for the interface.
And this will be recorded, so you will be able to watch it on our YouTube channel in a few days when Denny's able to get it posted.
I want to thank you all very much for joining us here today. As Stan mentioned, give us a call, send us an email if you've got any questions, if you want to learn more about this. And on that note, we're going to wish everybody a good day and a good weekend and a good rest of your month.
And we'll see you in the funny pages.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.